Okay, here we are ready to start finishing up our budget spreadsheet. And at this point, you should have typed in just some titles here, 10 of your items along with your quantities or how many you're needed. The requirement was to have at least 2 of your items be more than one thing needed. So here I have an Xbox controller. I need 2 of those, some running socks, and then some MRE meals. The cost for one of those items, and that should be where you are at this point with part 1. Now, with part 2, we're ready to start creating some formulas. One of the things we're going to do is go ahead and type in what our income is. I'm going to give you $1,000 to be able to work through this. Now, when I type in 1,000, it of course pops up as just a regular plain number. So I can either click on the currency option here, or if I go to Format Number, I can do it through the menu and select currency specifically. You'll see there's a couple of different types of currency formatting. I want to do just the regular currency formatting. That'll add some decimals for the cents as well as the dollar sign. If you have not already done that, you're going to also want to do that for the column C here for these cost items. Now, if you ever accidentally turn a value into a currency that's not meant to be, so let's say I accidentally did total needed into currency, you can always undo that by going to Format Number and choosing just Automatic, and it will bring it back to its default just plain value. Now, over here under total cost, we're going to do a simple formula to calculate what the total cost for this particular item will be. Now, if you have a calculator, all you would do is simply multiply the quantity or the total needed times the cost. So we're going to do that with a simple formula over here. We're going to first click where we want the answer to go. And we're going to start with an equal sign, and that will kind of put this spreadsheet into a formula mode. Now what that allows me to do is click on my first value that I want to have included in my formula, and that types in the cell address B4. I'm going to type in the symbol for multiply, which is an asterisk. Then I'm going to click on my second value, which is the cost for that one particular item, types in the cell address C4, and now I have my complete formula. Now Google Sheets is nice. It gives you a little preview of what the answer is going to be here before I press enter. And now I can tell that this is the correct answer if I wanted to manually check that. Now, when I look at this formula and I take B4, which is my total needed, times C4, that gave me this answer for this particular row, for row 4. Now, when I'm ready to go on down to my next item, which is in row 5, I take a close look at that formula. The only thing that's going to be different between this formula and the formula that I'm about to write is the number. The number 4 is going to turn into a number 5 in both situations, in both cell addresses within this formula. If that's the case and you have a formula where everything is going to increase incrementally by 1, you can use this button right here in the bottom right-hand corner, the Autofill button. Now I do that by clicking where my answer is that I've already gotten, and this only works if you've done a formula. I can click right in the top or in the bottom right-hand corner, click and drag down, and what it's doing is rewriting that formula for me, but increasing, since I'm dragging down, it's increasing the row by 1. So now this is row 5. If I look at this one, this is row 6, row 7, and row 8, and so on and so forth, all the way down. Now that only works for a formula that is in a row or in a column, and it increases sequentially. So in other words, everything within that formula is going to go up by 1. All right, now we're ready to do a grand total. So I want to do a grand total. And I'm going to go ahead and format that to be bold. And in fact, I'm going to move it over here to the right. And this grand total is going to add up all of my total costs. So I know I'm spending this amount to buy these 2 Xbox controllers, but now I want to add together all of my costs down here at the bottom. Now, there's a couple of ways to do this. The easiest way is to use our functions tool up here in the top right corner. Now, if your screen is half-sized right now, so in other words, you're working split screen, you may not see this formula button up here at the top, this functions button. So you may want to pop yourself out to full screen view. And when I click on that, I get a whole huge list of different types of formulas that I can use. Now, this is very similar to Microsoft Excel. The functions work very similarly. The sum function, the very first one, is for adding. So again, I've clicked where I want the answer to go. I'm going to go ahead and click on sum, and it's going to do its best estimate of where it thinks I want to add things together. Now, right now, it hasn't done an estimate. It's not predicted what I want to add together. So I am going to, with my very next click and drag to select all of the numbers I want to add together. Now, if I accidentally click somewhere else, many times that will mess up my function and I'll need to delete it and restart over. So the trick to that, and I'll do that one more time, is to click where you want the answer to go, choose the function you want to do. We want to do sum, which means add. And with my very next click and drag to select all of those numbers. And now I'm going to press enter. Now I'm going to do 3 additional functions here, but I want to do this for the average. I want to do my highest cost, my lowest cost. And I'm going to do a similar formatting to those. I want those to be bold and I want them to be pushed over to the right. Now, a nice, clean, easy way to do that is to use this, which is called the Format Painter. All right. And what I do is I click on the item that is formatted the correct way, the way I want it to. Click on my Format Painter. And now the next thing that I highlight will duplicate that formatting. That's a nice, quick little shortcut to be able to duplicate formatting. For my average now, I'm going to do a function over here. Click where I want the answer to go. Click up here under my functions, and I'm going to choose average. Does the same thing where it pops in there. Now it wants to know, what do I want to find the average of? Now, once again, just like what I did for the grand total, I'm going to click and drag and select only the items I want to include in my average. Make sure you don't accidentally include the grand total. That's not part of this calculation. So my formula will be D4 through D13. And the colon means through. When I press enter, it's going to give me my average number. Okay? And that is the same way of mathematically adding all these numbers together and then dividing them by 10 because there's 10 items. My high cost, you might be able to guess, is going to use the max function. So I'm going to click where I want the answer. Once again, click and drag the items that I want to have included, the values I want included. Press enter. And then for my low cost, I'm going to use min. And that will, again, go through my list of numbers here, or values, and select which one is the smallest. All right. Now I've got 3 different numbers here that will calculate through these. Now, one last calculation I'm going to do, and this is maybe a little bit complicated. And if you're doing this correctly, it should be in the right spot. We're here with row 20. This is going to be our remaining money, or our balance. Again, I'm going to calculate, or I'm going to format that to match these, put it over here on the right side. Now, what a balance is how much money is left over after I've spent all my money. I only have $1,000. Remember, that was our first step. We put $1,000 into my income. My income is the amount of money that I have. I spent $671.02. That's my grand total because I added all these together. So I want to do a simple formula here, and this is simple math. It's just subtraction. That's going to take my income and subtract my grand total. So again, equal sign will start my formula. I'm going to click on my income, which happens to be $1,000, but it types in the formula or the cell address B1. I'm going to do minus, and make sure you click on the correct number here. I'm going to click on my grand total, which is the amount of money that I spent, and that's how much money I have left over. Now, let's say, for example, I happen to spend a lot of money. Let's say that my Xbox card, instead of $25, I want it to be $2,000. I'm going to go up here and change that price just so you can see how it affects. That changes my total cost, right? Because that's a formula. Which then changes my grand total because that's a formula. So now I'm spending $2,646. That also changed my high cost because remember, that's going through this list and finding the highest cost item. And now my balance is a negative number because I only have $1,000, but I've spent $2,646.02. So I am negative $1,646.02. Now, here's the trick. I have these 3 questions over here on the left side. Now, you can type these in, and you may need to freeze your video to be able to type these in. And I want you to answer these using now your completed spreadsheet. Now, one of these items, how much more money do you need to pay for all your items, is actually answered right here with my balance. If this is my scenario, I need $1,646.02. So I could easily answer that question. I'm going to actually move that question down here out of the way. I'm going to answer that question right here. I need to have $1,646.02. It's my answer. All right. Now, my other two questions right here can be answered with a chart or a graph. What is the percentage of your total cost was your highest cost item? Right? And what percentage of your total cost was your lowest cost item? So in other words, I have all these different items. This is my highest cost item, $2,000. What percent of my total cost is that? Now, that sounds like a complex question, but it can easily be answered with a pie chart. So that's our final step here. Our final step is to insert a pie chart that will show us percentages. And here's how you do it on Google Sheets. Our first step is to click on the word item, which is going to be our title, drag down and select all of the items that I have typed in. Now, looking down at your keyboard, there's a control button, CTRL, usually in the bottom left-hand corner. If I hold that down after I have selected this first column, and it's important that I do that after I've selected it, this will allow me to go over here, click and drag total cost along with these total costs, making sure I don't accidentally highlight any extra columns or extra cells. These must perfectly match. So in other words, I've started on row 3 in both of these selections. Now I've let go of the control button, and you can see it has allowed me to select both of these columns or both of these data sets without selecting the data in between. And that's important to do it the way that I just showed you. Again, clicking on the word item, drag down, then press the control key, click on total cost, drag down, not doing anything extra. Now I can go to insert and I can go down to chart. And what appears is a couple of different options. It usually will throw in the type of chart it thinks you might want. We don't want a column chart. You got a lot of different options here. You have the data, and then you have a customize, and we're going to run through those here very quickly. Chart type for column, we're going to switch it over to a pie chart. Now it suggests a pie chart, but if for some reason that is not suggested, you can scroll down here and choose a pie chart and just choose the regular one. Don't do a 3D or a donut. We're going to just start out with the regular old pie. Now, a lot of times it'll throw in what you need. It's giving me some percentages here. It's giving me some values. It's giving me a lot of kind of cool stuff over here. And then I can run through and take a look at some of these options that I might want to change. Now, all of my data options for a pie chart actually happen to be good. So I'm going to switch over to my customize options. And you can see these little expandable options under chart style, pie chart, chart and axes, series, and legend. These will be different depending on what type of chart you've chosen. So this happens to be a pie chart. I can just pick this up and move it while I'm working on it. Chart style, this allows me to either maximize the amount of area that I have if I want to have something a little bit easier and bigger to see. I actually like it like this because I can see my percentages right here. You can obviously switch it to 3D. I don't know that that necessarily adds anything. If anything, it makes it harder to read. I can also change the background color. Now, again, changing the background color many times makes it hard to read things. So I usually just leave it in a white. When I go to pie chart, you can see there's other options along here, and many of these options will allow you to fully customize it, but sometimes almost customize it beyond being readable. My chart title here is already total cost versus item. Maybe I'll add a subtitle here, and I'm going to add this subtitle of budget, and it did this total cost versus items automatically, and as long as that works, which it is, then you can leave it. Otherwise, you can go in there and change the title to be something different. And then my legend, finally, the legend currently is auto position because it's already has all of these pieces of data. I could change it and just see how it looks. Does it work through these various options? I actually prefer the labeled because it has everything right in there. All right. Now, when you're done customizing your chart, you can click on the X up here, and it will allow you to move your chart out of the way so that it's not covering up all of your data and your answers. I'm going to go ahead and scroll down here. And now when I look at my chart, and I'm going to actually shrink it just a little bit, this chart will actually tell me the answer to my other two questions. What percentage of your total cost was your highest cost item? So clearly, my Xbox card was my highest cost item. It shows it right here. It's 75.6%. So I'm going to actually type that in, 75.6%. Right. And what percentage was your lowest cost item? Now, this is going to take a little more investigation here. I could go up here, and I know my low cost is $17.08. If I go up here and look, that's my filter water bottle. Where is that in here? Now, if you look, it's not actually even listed. It's kind of hidden. So it's going to take a little work here. Sometimes I might need to make my chart bigger for that to be able to pop up. There it is. Filter water bottle, 0.06 is the percentage for that. So I'm going to put that as my answer, 0.06%. And now I have a complete spreadsheet. If I zoom out, I'll be able to see this overall full spreadsheet. None of my data is covered up, and I can see everything perfectly answering my questions. Now, once I'm done with this, make sure that I've named this budget, and this is where you are finished with your spreadsheet.